Elon Musk just picked a fight with America.
Reusable rockets, space travel, connecting cities with electromagnetic bullet trains.
What does it take to scare a man that has sent rockets to space? While you might be tempted to say nothing, in this video we bring you the details of what was discovered in ice that terrified Elon Musk. Yes, that very same billionaire Elon Musk. Stay tuned to find out what shocked the illustrious industrialist. What do billionaires do when they're not making billions? Well, many of them are just like ordinary people in many regards and have hobbies, including feeding their curiosities about the world around us. Elon Musk, for example, despite running a handful of companies with Twitter being his latest pet project, dives into things that catch his interest. For example, one of the things Musk is best known for, apart from being rich of course, is his interest in science fiction. He often makes jokes on Twitter that only fellow nerds could understand. But that is not all Musk does for relaxation, as you could sometimes catch him on his favorite playground tweeting mysterious Chinese poems like this one, titled Humankind, without providing a context for the post. However, when Musk is not posting ancient Chinese poems on the internet, he is literally fighting ice. But the surprising part is that he is fighting ice on a whole different planet from Earth. Now, it is common knowledge that Musk wants to put humans on Mars permanently to form a colony. However, one of the things standing in his way is the unforgiving atmosphere of the red planet, which will kill any human that comes in direct contact with it. But Musk has a bizarre plan to overcome this hurdle. Musk has suggested that we could drop thermonuclear bombs on the ice at its poles in order to heat it up to release the carbon dioxide. This would terraform the planet and make it habitable enough for his colonizers to walk around without any form of protection. However, the ice on planet Earth alone has been a source of shocking discoveries, never mind Mars, with many of them sounding virtually impossible. One of the most significant archaeological findings in Russia in the late 20th century was the discovery of the remains of a woman from the 5th century BC found in a kurgan belonging to one of the Pazyryk burials from the Pazyryk culture in the Republic of Altai, Russia. The mummified remains of this woman who lived on the Eurasian steppes were found undisturbed in a subterranean burial chamber. She is known as the Siberian Ice Maiden, also known as the Princess of Ukok, the Altai Princess, Dvochka, and Okibala, the heroine of the Altai epic. She was moved to a special mausoleum at the Republican National Museum in Gorno-Altaysk. The Ice Maiden was discovered by Natalia Polsmak and her team when she was a senior research fellow at the Russian Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography in Novosibirsk. The Ice Maiden was a representative of the Pazyryk culture that thrived between the 6th and 2nd centuries BC in the Siberian steppe. The Ice Maiden's tomb was found in the Ukok Plateau near the border of China, in what is now the autonomous Republic of Altai. The plateau part of the Eurasian steppes is characterized by a harsh, arid climate. The area is known by the local people as the second layer of heaven, one step above ordinary people and events. Natalia and her team were guided by a border guard, Lieutenant Mikhail Chepanov, to a group of kurgans located in a strip of territory disputed between Russia and China. A kurgan is a burial mound filled in with smaller sediment and covered with a pile of rocks. Typically, the mound covers a tomb chamber which contains a burial inside a log coffin with accompanying grave goods. And another one of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries of the 20th century was the discovery of the mummified remains of a man in the Ötztal Alps on the border between Austria and Italy. The man, now known as Ötzi or the Iceman, lived more than 5,000 years ago during the Copper Age. Ötzi was discovered by two German tourists, Helmut and Erika Simon, on September 19, 1991. At first, they thought they'd stumbled upon the body of a mountaineer who had died recently. However, it soon became clear that this was not the case. The body was remarkably well preserved, with skin, hair, and internal organs still intact. The discovery of Ötzi caused a sensation in the scientific community. Here was a unique opportunity to study the life of a prehistoric man in unprecedented detail. Ötzi's body and belongings were carefully examined using a range of scientific techniques. It was found that Ötzi was about 45 years old when he died and stood about 1.6 meters tall. He'd been killed by an arrow that had pierced his left shoulder and damaged an artery. He also had several other injuries, including a deep cut on his right hand. Ötzi's clothing and equipment were also remarkably well preserved. He wore a coat made from goat and sheepskin, leggings made from deerskin, and shoes made from bearskin and deerskin. He carried a copper axe, a flint knife, a bow and arrows, and a quiver made from deerskin. The discovery of Ötzi has provided valuable insights into the life of prehistoric people in Europe. It has shown that they were skilled at making clothing and tools and were able to survive in harsh mountain environments. But as many of the questions that the discovery of Ötzi has answered, it has also raised many more questions about his society and culture of the time. Now, if that is not shocking enough, the ice has also yielded a 55,000-year-old animal that suffered an attack by an Ice Age lion. And guess what? The discoverers sliced off a piece of the neck to feast on. In 1979, researchers unearthed the mummified body of a 55,000-year-old steppe bison in the Alaskan tundra. This amazing find was discovered by gold miners and is now called Blue Babe. Researchers believe it is more than 55,000 years old, but unfortunately radiocarbon dating tools can't measure any further back than that. Amazingly, the skeleton, skin, and muscles of Blue Babe were all in near impeccable condition. The bison was brought to its knees by a lion ancestor foe and went down on permafrost ground, which kept it from being eaten or found. Neither predator nor man disturbed the behemoth mass as it remained encased in a protective, frozen layer of ice. The steppe bison, also known as the steppe viscent or bison priscus, is an extinct species of bison that once roamed the Mouth Steppe. Its range included the British Isles, Europe, Central Asia, northern to northeastern Asia, including the Japanese archipelago, Beringia, and central North America from northwest Canada to Mexico during the Quaternary. Resembling modern bison species, especially the American wood bison or bison athabasca, the steppe bison was over 2 meters or 6 feet 7 inches tall at the withers and could reach 900 kilograms or 2,000 pounds in weight. The tips of its horns were a meter apart, with the horns themselves being over half a meter long. And many more ancient animals remain frozen under ice, waiting to be discovered by incredulous humans, like the group of local Siberian tusk hunters that discovered the frozen carcass of a woolly mammoth on the Laptev Sea coast near Yukagir, Russia. The mammoth, nicknamed Yuka, is considered to be the best preserved woolly mammoth carcass ever found. Yuka was a juvenile female that was found near and named after the village of Yukagir, whose local people discovered it. Analysis of the teeth and tusks determined Yuka to be approximately 6 to 8 years old when she died. The discovery of Yuka is truly astonishing and provides a unique glimpse into the past. The mummified carcass included the brain with folds and blood vessels visible. Woolly mammoths roamed the cold tundra of Europe, Asia, and North America from about 300,000 years ago up until about 10,000 years ago. They were one of the last in a line of mammoth species, beginning with the African Mammuthus subplanifrons in the early Pliocene. However, the last known group of woolly mammoths survived until about 1650 BC on Wrangel Island, which is over 1,000 years after the pyramids at Giza were built. And our planet's ice is a gift that keeps on giving up objects that give us a glimpse of what life was like for some of our ancestors. For example, in Norway, archaeologists have discovered an ancient arrow complete with an iron arrowhead, tightly wrapped sinew, tar, thread, and feather fletching that has been recovered from a glacier in southern Norway. The arrow, thought to have been lost by a hunter who had traveled to the mountains in search of reindeer, measures more than 30 inches long. Researchers will attempt to determine the type of wood used to make the arrow shaft and what species contributed to the feathers and sinews, but they have decided against taking samples for radiocarbon dating. Instead, the artifact has been dated to be between AD 300 and 600 based on comparisons with similar weapons recovered from bogs in Denmark and graves in southern Norway. But how did ancient people make their arrows? They simply used materials that were available to them in their environment. The shaft of the arrow was typically made from a straight, lightweight wood such as cedar, pine, or birch. The shaft was then straightened and smoothed using heat and pressure. The arrowhead was made from a hard material such as stone, bone, or metal. Stone arrowheads were shaped by flint knapping, a process of chipping away at the stone to create a sharp point. Bone and metal arrowheads were shaped by carving or casting. The fletching or feathers were attached to the end of the shaft to stabilize the arrow in flight. These feathers were typically taken from birds such as turkeys or geese. The feathers were trimmed and glued to the shaft using natural adhesives such as pine resin or hide glue. And buried deep in the ice of Antarctica, researchers have discovered a new species related to dinosaurs and modern crocodiles, an iguana-sized reptile whose genus name Antarctinax means Antarctic King. Antarctinax shackletoni is an archosaur, an early relative of crocodiles and dinosaurs. Antarctinax lived during the early Triassic period, a few thousand years after the end Permian mass extinction event, when 70% of land-dwelling life on Earth went extinct. The Antarctic King belonged to the archosaur reptile group, the ancestor of dinosaurs and modern crocodiles. This discovery is truly astonishing and provides a unique glimpse into the past. The fossilized remains of Antarctinax shackletoni were found in the transantarctic mountains of Antarctica during a 2010-11 expedition. The specimen consists of portions of the backbone, limbs, and skull. The discovery of Antarctinax shackletoni sheds light on how dinosaurs and their closest relatives evolved and spread. It also provides valuable insights into the early Triassic period and how life recovered after the end Permian mass extinction event. Journeying on, scientists in Siberia announced the discovery of two perfectly preserved cave bears, a mother and a cub, inside frozen ice. The adult cave bear was found on Bolshoi Lyakovsky Island, part of the Lyakovsky Islands in the Arctic, while the cub was found on the Siberian mainland of Yakutia. The adult cave bear is estimated to be about 39,000 years old and is the first fully intact specimen of its kind ever found. Prior to this discovery, scientists only had bones, tracks, and abandoned nests to study the species. The discovery of these cave bears is significant because it provides scientists with an unprecedented opportunity to study the anatomy and behavior of this extinct species. The remains are so well preserved that even the bear's nose is still intact. The discovery was made possible by melting permafrost in Siberia, which has also revealed other ancient animals such as woolly mammoths and rhinoceroses. As global temperatures continue to rise, it's likely that more discoveries like this will be made in the future. It is the first time in 15,000 years that humans have come face to face with a cave bear in the flesh. Cave bears, which weighed up to 1,000 kilograms and had a plant-based diet, went extinct 24,000 years ago when temperatures plummeted during the last glacial maximum. Scientists have speculated that the bears died out because the colder climate depleted food availability, or they were driven to extinction by prehistoric humans. And as the permafrost in Siberia continues to melt due to climate change, it's revealing a treasure trove of mammoth tusks and other remains of long-extinct animals. This has sparked a gold rush for mammoth ivory, as local tuskers set up temporary illegal ivory mines to dig up the valuable tusks. The tusks can fetch a high price on the Chinese market, where they are carved into elaborate sculptures and trinkets. An estimated 80% of Siberian mammoth tusks end up in mainland China via Hong Kong. However, this gold rush is not without its problems. The excavation of the tusks can cause environmental harm, and there are concerns about the impact on local communities. Some officials have called for the trade in mammoth ivory to be regulated to ensure that it's sustainable and benefits local populations. Despite these concerns, though, the gold rush for mammoth ivory shows no signs of slowing down. And as global temperatures continue to rise and more permafrost melts, it's likely that more and more mammoth tusks will be unearthed in Siberia. However, not all the shocking discoveries under ice are hundreds or thousands of years old. One shocking discovery that comes to mind is the wreckage of Flight Sayeta 232, a plane that disappeared in 1976 and was found 30 years later on the slopes of the Chimborazo volcano in Ecuador. On August 15, 1976, Sayeta Flight 232 en route from Quito, Ecuador to Cuenca was reported missing while in flight. The Sayeta-operated Vickers Viscount 785D carried 55 passengers and 4 crew members. Searches of the possible crash area produced no results. The plane was eventually found at 17,420 feet or 5,310 meters in the Garcia Moreno Glacier near the Chimborazo volcano. Two members of a local mountaineering club helped mark the exact crash site after a fellow mountaineer had previously come across it. The exact cause of the crash of flight Sayeta 232 is not known. The snow-capped mountain Chimborazo, which is 150 kilometers from the capital and stands 6,319 meters above sea level, is thought to be a dangerous part of the route. Searches of the possible crash area produced no results. A mid-route crash on the stratovolcano Chimborazo was considered to be most probable, though some speculated a guerrilla hijacking. The pilot's last contact with the control tower reported that he was flying over the city of Ambato, but the station soon after lost all communication with the plane. And in a somewhat similar time frame, two mummified bodies were discovered entombed on a Mexican mountain, Pico de Orizaba, Mexico's highest peak. The first body was discovered when a climber attempting to ascend the 5,610-meter Pico de Orizaba slipped and spotted a mummified human head and arm protruding from the snow not far below the summit. The second body was uncovered close by when rescuers attempted to bring down the first for forensic tests. Both bodies are thought to be those of two Mexican climbers who disappeared in 1959 when a team of 7 were caught in an avalanche. 4 of them survived, but 3 were reported missing, presumed dead, and it is thought that a third body might be found when recovery teams are able to return to the peak. Pico de Orizaba, also known as Citlaltépetl, is a stratovolcano and the highest mountain in Mexico with an elevation of 5,636 meters. It is also the third highest peak in North America after Denali in Alaska and Mount Logan in Canada. Pico de Orizaba is located on the border between the states of Veracruz and Puebla in eastern Mexico. It is part of the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt, a chain of volcanoes that stretches across central Mexico. And back to Antarctica now, exploration has revealed many fascinating discoveries, including ancient DNA samples, fossils, and evidence of a previously unknown ecosystem. One such discovery is the finding of sediment samples from Antarctica that reveal million-year-old DNA. Remains of marine microorganisms were discovered around 178 meters deep in the sediments of the ocean floor in Antarctica during an expedition in 2019. The samples are the oldest authenticated DNA to be discovered to date, and scientists have also discovered a fossil forest in Antarctica that is 260 million years old. These ancient trees were able to withstand alternating months of pure sunlight and darkness before falling into history's greatest mass extinction. This discovery suggests the continent was once a lush forest, providing a unique glimpse into the past. These discoveries are truly astonishing and provide valuable insights into the history of Antarctica and our planet Earth. They show that the continent was once much warmer and more humid than it is today, with a landscape that was densely forested with resilient plants that could withstand the polar extremes. And now imagine walking on a glacier and stumbling upon a piece of wood that is older than the Roman Empire. That's what some researchers and visitors have experienced in Alaska, where an ancient forest is emerging from beneath the melting ice. The Mendel Glacier, located near Juneau, is one of the most accessible and popular glaciers in Alaska. It covers an area of 36.8 square miles and flows into a lake, but as the glacier retreats due to climate change, it reveals a hidden secret, a forest that was buried by ice more than 1,000 years ago. The forest consists of stumps and logs, some still upright and with roots and bark intact. They have been preserved by a layer of gravel that protected them from the crushing weight of the glacier. Scientists have identified them as spruce or hemlock trees based on their diameter and the types of trees that grow in the region today. Using radiocarbon dating techniques, researchers have found that the forest dates back between 1,200 and 2,350 years ago. That means the trees were alive when the Roman Empire was still flourishing, when Buddhism was spreading in Asia, and when the Maya civilization was building pyramids in Central America. The ancient forest is not only a fascinating sight, but also a valuable source of information about the history and evolution of glaciers and forests in Alaska. By studying the wood samples, scientists can learn about the climate conditions, soil composition, and plant diversity that existed before the glacier advanced. Now imagine going fishing on a frozen lake and catching a fish that has another fish in its mouth. That's what happened to an Indiana fisherman who made a shocking discovery of a fish frozen halfway through its meal. The fisherman, Alex, was ice fishing on Wawasee Lake in northern Indiana in January 2021. He was using a sonar device to locate fish under the ice when he saw a large blip on the screen. He drilled a hole in the ice and dropped his line, hoping to catch a big fish. And he was not disappointed. He felt a strong tug on his line and pulled up a large pike, a predatory fish with sharp teeth. But as he lifted the pike out of the water, he noticed something unusual. The pike had another fish, a bass, in its mouth, and both fish were frozen solid. Alex was stunned by his catch. He had never seen anything like it before. And of course, he took some photos and videos of the frozen fish and posted them on social media, where they quickly went viral. Many people were amazed and curious about how this could happen. The most likely explanation is that the pike was hunting for food when it spotted the bass swimming near the surface of the water. The pike lunged at the bass and grabbed it in its jaws, but before it could swallow it, the water temperature dropped suddenly and froze both fish in place. This could have been caused by a cold snap, a change in water currents, or an influx of cold water from another source. The ice on the lake was about 8 inches thick, which means that the water below was very cold and close to freezing point. The frozen fish were preserved in their final moments, capturing a rare and dramatic scene of nature. Alex said he was glad he had his sonar device with him, otherwise he would have missed this incredible sight. And some of the most shocking discoveries under ice are actually from out of this world. That's what some scientists and explorers have experienced in Antarctica, where objects from space, such as meteorites and cosmic dust, have been found buried under the ice. Antarctica is one of the best places on Earth to find extraterrestrial materials that have fallen from the sky. The cold and dry conditions of the continent preserve the rocks and particles from weathering and erosion, and the white background of the ice also makes them easier to spot. Scientists have collected thousands of meteorites from Antarctica, some dating back to the formation of the solar system. Meteorites are fragments of asteroids, comets, or planets that have collided with Earth's atmosphere and survived the fiery descent. They can tell us about the origin and evolution of our cosmic neighborhood. One of the most famous meteorites found in Antarctica is ALH 84001, a piece of Mars that was blasted off the red planet by an impact and landed on Earth about 13,000 years ago. And in 1996, scientists claimed they had found evidence of ancient microbial life in this meteorite, sparking a controversy that still remains unresolved. And another type of object from space that's been found in Antarctica is cosmic dust, tiny particles of matter that originate from stars, comets, or asteroids. Cosmic dust can contain organic molecules and water, which are essential for life. Scientists have used special traps to collect cosmic dust from the Antarctic ice and study its composition and origin. But perhaps the scariest of under-ice discoveries is digging into the frozen soil of the Arctic and finding living bacteria and viruses that have been dormant for thousands or even millions of years. And that is exactly what happened in the Arctic, where well-preserved frozen bacteria have been revived from the permafrost. The permafrost contains organic matter such as plants and animals that have been trapped and preserved by the cold for millennia. But the permafrost also contains bacteria and viruses that have survived the freezing conditions and remained alive but inactive until the permafrost thaws. Scientists have discovered several types of bacteria that have been reactivated from the permafrost, some of which are ancient and unique. For example, in 2005, researchers isolated a strain of bacteria from a 120,000-year-old permafrost sample in Siberia. The bacteria, named Carnobacterium pleistocenum, was able to grow and multiply after being thawed. It was also resistant to several antibiotics that did not exist when it was frozen. And another example is a virus that was revived from a 30,000-year-old permafrost sample in Siberia in 2014. The virus, named Pithovirus sibericum, was the largest virus ever found, measuring 1.5 micrometers in length. It infected amoebae but not humans or animals. It was also different from any known virus, belonging to a new family of giant DNA viruses. And the most shocking discovery of the well-preserved frozen bacteria in the Arctic was made in 2020 when researchers revived a virus that had been frozen for 48,500 years. The virus named Mollivirus sibericum was also a giant DNA virus that infected amoebae. It was the fourth type of giant virus found in the permafrost, suggesting that there may be many more unknown viruses lurking in the ice.